then the last piece is, what do you want to change in the system? Person, role, and system. What are you trying to really change in the system so that it works better for folks? How are you going to move your networks to be better in service of community? I use this framework to help me enter into the space around engagement. So what I'm really talking about here, this is my spirit showing up. It's not my job title. This is my spirit showing up. And when you can be vulnerable enough to figure out what your spirit needs, it's easier to connect with people. Does that make sense? So I can show up in Berea, Kentucky. I can show up in Indianola, Mississippi. And I can show up in the hood or the boardroom. And I can keep on the same clothes that I've got on. You know, some people try to change to match the environment and they look foolish because they don't wear coveralls and all that. And they're trying to blend in, like somehow if they just put on the different clothing, that's going to make people feel comfortable with them. I don't need to do all that because I'll show up in a way where I'm humble enough and vulnerable enough and interested enough to connect with you, to listen to you, to figure out where we can join to do some work. Now, it also helps, I think, when you're of color and you've had to do that work to survive, to learn to connect, to learn to listen, to learn to be intuitive. So if you haven't had to do that, you've got to find some other ways to wake up to that space. But for me, it's quite easy because it's naturally how I was born and had to move into the world. It doesn't mean I don't have blind spots. It does not mean I don't have blind spots because we all have them. But it means that I'm comfortable moving across the range of what is America in the world. And I found my way to make it work. What I'm asking you to do is to think about in the person, role, and system, what's your way that you make it work for you? But what I found is when I'm clear on these things, it's easier for me to engage. Because now I'm engaging intentionally. And I'm able to decide, I don't want to sit in community with folks who don't want to do any work more than I want to sit in a boardroom with folks who don't want to do any work. So I don't put much stock in community folks who don't want to do any work either. So this helps me figure all of that out. Is this helpful? So this is a framework that I use just to get me started. It's just so I'm clear about how I'm showing up. What do I care about? What am I trying to communicate? And the thing that anchors me here, there's two things that anchor me. The first thing that goes over the top of this is what we call equity in America. That's my North Star. I'm trying to create just and fair inclusion into a society in which all can participate, prosper, and reach their full potential. That's the work I want to do. If you want to find more out about that, you can pull up our equity manifesto. And we wrote the manifesto to kind of try to not be just definitionally, but get to the soul of what is equity, what are we trying to do? This is social justice. That's what I'm trying to care about. That's what I care about, just and fair inclusion. How do I want to do it? I want to get some results. Doesn't matter whether I'm talking about transportation, housing, water rights, homelessness. I'm agnostic to the issue. As long as I'm sitting at that nexus of money and power, I'm going to be able to do that work. And who do I want to do that work for? 100 million. Not just Michael McAfee to get to a place where he's really getting paid really well and has titles and can fly around the world and talk and talk and talk and talk, but never get anything done. Because you know people who do that too, right? They spend their whole life trying to get somewhere. They get there. They don't even have a vision about what they want to accomplish. They get intoxicated by how they get treated. And before you know it, you've built a career that's not grounded in equity. You may be using the language of it. You may use the language of equity. You may even dress, like some of us take on the fashion of progressivism and social justice. But the only thing really that matters is, can you take and hold the results of it? Can you deal with this? Can you actually say what you've done over the last couple of years to advance it? So that's how I try to enter the space and hold myself accountable and join with others. And even when we start this notion of this defining equity, when you read the Equity Manifesto, we say this simple thing: it begins with joining. And here's what that means. You heard me say I don't like collaboration. I don't. I find it's not my personality type. But the reality is, if I want to do my work, I must join. So that's a tough place to be in, to not like collaboration, but that's your fate. You got to collaborate. So, I just have to do this to help me stay grounded and to figure out how to move through it. So I show up with this frame to help me start doing the work.